Weather here, and Mallory, Brooke is with us from Nor'easter Weather Consulting, and you are the weather person here for the official. Welcome, how are you?
Thank you. Great, how are you?
I'm doing great, and it's so nice to have you here. And we were just talking during the break, and we're about your service and how you bring it a little bit earlier for us. That's not a bad thing for us.
Everyone always wants it first thing.
Yeah, right.
There's a whole methodology to how you maneuver through all the mountains.
You must get started quite early.
Not as early from my television days, but I wake up about 5 and I gather all the information. I'm looking at a plethora of resources, including the mountains weather stations, including model data, kind of seeing what's going on, and then I start in Maine and I move my way over to Vermont.
Tell us a little bit about your background. It seems like this is really your passion.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about your TV background and how you got to here.
I'm a Penn State graduate, so I have a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology from Penn State. And at that point, which I graduated in 2008, the female population in the broadcast and meteorology world as a whole was just starting to increase. It's really a male-dominated market. So there weren't a lot of places for women to go at that point. And I had a few internships at television stations. I said, oh, I'll go that way, because I didn't see myself finding a lot of options anywhere else, and I loved the forecasting. So I started in Harrisonburg, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley for my first job, and I stayed there 3.5 years. It did not snow nearly enough for what I loved, because it was snow that really got me into weather. And I had an opportunity to come up to interview at WMTW in Portland, Maine. And on a whim, I said, okay, let's go. I'd never been to Maine in my life. I was so excited because I wanted to be in the snow, and I was a skier. So this was a way to really actually ski and do forecasting at the same time. As social media was really starting to increase, I found myself having the outlet to do more science rather than just the TV end, which you have such a finite amount of time.
Right.
So I was able to really start to delve into the science, and I realized how much more I love that and interacting with people on the scientific level than in the 2 minutes that I had to crunch in a forecast. So a few years ago, I was introduced to Tony Visano, who many knew from Northwinds Weather, and he was getting ready to retire. So we started working together many years ago to get me introduced to mountain forecasting. It's very different than trying to...
How so?
It's so finite. I'm forecasting for your slope, not for your general area, not for Carabasset Valley, not for the North Country. I'm forecasting for your mountain, versus when you're on television, you're forecasting for half the state. And you might do coast and inland. It doesn't really bring in the finite variables and the nuances of a mountain. So to start that many years before I potentially take over was really helpful. And that led me to Killington for World Cup the last 3 years. I'm the meteorologist on site with the jury. And that went really well. So when Tony was ready to retire, he said, here you go, if you want it.
Right.
And at that point, I was tired of waking up at 1:30 in the morning for 10 years. So this was the launch into Nor'easter Weather Consulting. So we took the idea of finite forecasting to this point and expanded it. So I also not only do ski areas, I work with plow contractors and I work with electric companies.
Because they're specialized too in what particular regions. Some people just think they can Google the weather. I would equate that probably to Googling something about your health.
Yeah.
With leaving the doctor out. There's an interpretation that has to happen, right?
There really is. And I posted this on Facebook when we came up Thursday, which it was not the most amazing weather. But if you Googled the weather for Sugarloaf, it said you were getting 7 inches of snow. And I said, well, there's a very clear answer as to why you don't Google the weather, because it was rain. Everyone had rain across the whole Northeast. And we won't talk about that anymore because conditions are great now and there's snow on the way. But it's more than just being able to plug and chug a number into a model and take it for face value. And that's what you do when you're using an app. I have clients who are using apps. When we were in that event a few days ago, where the app said it should be 46 degrees and it was 34 degrees and everything was glazing over and icing. So there's a real science to doing the weather. It can't be replicated by electronics just yet. I say when it's sunny, your app works. When it's not, we work for you. Because when it's sunny, sure, it'll be fine. But when it's not going to be your best friend.
Stay with us, Mallory. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with Mallory Brooke.